Hello, Professor. Today we will be presenting our REB proposal on the topic about microcredentials hyper opportunity. And our group consists of Mahi, Braden, Mia, Aman, Simon, and myself, Carrie. And we hope you will enjoy our presentation.
Micro-credentials are becoming a major part of Canada's changing education system because they offer short, targeted training that builds job-ready skills. Research shows that micro-credentials support lifelong learning by enabling individuals to continually update skills in response to changing labor market demands. They are also gaining strong global recognition as flexible, industry-aligned training, with studies noting that micro-credentials have gained global recognition as a form of skill training closely aligned with labor market needs. In our study, we focus on how students pursue micro-credentials, specifically their awareness, usefulness, recognition, and how these credentials fit alongside traditional degrees. Research asks how students view micro-credentials in terms of value, recognition, and career impact. Because our study involves human participation, we strictly follow Seneca's Research Ethics Board and the Tri-Council policy statement. Participants will remain anonymous, and their data will be used only for academic purposes. As stated in the Tri-Council policy statement, researchers are responsible for protecting the welfare of participants and ensuring that participation is voluntary and informed. We also ensure that free, informed, and ongoing consent is maintained throughout the study. No risks are anticipated, and participants may withdraw at any time.
So I'm going to be going through the hypothesis and objectives overview. So our first one would be position of microcredentials in higher education. So we think students have the level of familiarity with microcredential is not related to their perception of the importance of microcredential in higher education system. And secondly, students with higher familiarity with microcredential reports a higher perceived importance of this credential in higher education system than students with lower familiarity. And the second one would be global perspectives on microcredentials and lifelong learning. So students do not generally view this as a globally relevant or global recognized pathway to diplomas and degrees and support lifelong learning, or the other way around, which is students generally view microcredentials as globally relevant or a global recognized pathway to diplomas and degrees and support lifelong learning. The third one would be student awareness and understanding. So student awareness about the microcredential does not necessarily influence how broadly they understand the purpose of it or how they prefer to learn about them. But the more aware students are, the more likely they are to show a broad understanding of their purpose and to prefer multiple learning formats. Our fourth one would be like employment, ability, and benefits for career development. So student perceptions of the career benefits of microcredentials are not significantly related to how they are to recommend others for the career growth. And for our fifth, the recognition and acceptance in labor market. So students' perception of how recognized and accepted microcredentials are in the labor market are not significantly related to their willingness to pursue in these kind of credentials. And students who believe that microcredentials are more likely widely recognized by employers have a similar level of the credibility as traditional degrees in the labor market are more willingly to pursue in them than other students. And last but not least, we have our microcredentials as alternatives or supplements to degrees. So students view about whether microcredentials can replace a traditional degree are not related to the type of education path they would recommend to a high school student or to how they personally intend to use microcredential. But for students who agree that microcredentials can replace a traditional degree for career advancement are more likely to recommend them and use it than students who disagree. Thank you.
Now let's have a look at the literature review. In this section, we look at the position of microcredential in higher education. Microcredentials are short competency-based programs that help learners develop jobs, ready skills, and bridge the gap between theory and practice. The importance has grown in recent years as colleges and universities respond to the changing labor market demands and the needs for lifelong learning. Since COVID-19, universities have accelerated the adoption of micro-credentials, using them to support reskilling, remote learning, and employability. Many institutions now offer micro-credentials through continuing education or embed them in credit programs, allowing students to stack them toward diplomas or degrees. At the policy level, provincial and international frameworks aim to ensure quality and alignment with employer needs. However, some challenges exist, such as inconsistent recognition across institutions, questions about long-term value, and tensions between academic rigor and market demands. Overall, micro-credentials are emerging as flexible, complementary pathways within higher education with significant potential for lifelong learning. Okay, let's talk about the global perspective of micro-credentials and lifelong learning. Over the past few years, micro-credentials have moved from policy reporting to mainstream higher education reform. International organizations such as the OECD, UNESCO, and the European Commission now promote shared frameworks to ensure transparency, credit transfer, and quality assurance across borders. Countries like New Zealand, Australia, and the United States have formally integrated micro-credentials in their national systems, signaling that they are part of their strategic view on education policy. At the same time, global online platforms such as Coursera, edX, Udacity, FutureLearn have helped offering accredited stackable micro-credentials to learners worldwide, and they are often in partnership with universities. This growth is closely linked to lifelong learning. Micro-credentials support continuous upskilling, reskilling for new industries, and building workforce resilience in a fast-changing economy. However, differences in recognition, quality assurance, and digital access mean that not all learners benefit equally, and employers may still be uncertain about the value of these new credentials. Micro-credentials are emerging as a powerful global tool for lifelong learning, but their full potential depends on stronger international coordination, clear standards, and inclusive digital infrastructure. Focus on student awareness and understanding of micro-credentials, which is crucial for successful implementation in higher education. Awareness is more than just recognizing the term. It means knowing what micro-credentials are for, how valuable they are, and how they can influence future careers. Studies show that low awareness often comes from weak communication or unclear links to existing programs. Research suggests that institutions can build awareness through surveys, focus group, and by embedding micro-credentials directly into the curriculum so students see their relevance. When micro-credentials are clearly aligned with industry needs and real job skills, students are more likely to view them as worthwhile. Transparency and feedback are also key. Colleges need to clearly explain how micro-credentials stack into diplomas or degrees, what learning outcomes they cover, and how employers may recognize them. Ongoing feedback from students through course and programs evaluation helps refine these offerings over time, strengthening both understanding and engagement.
Hi, I'm Mia, and today I'm going to be presenting on the literature reviews 4, 5, and 6. So for Objective 4, we looked at how micro-credentials support students in their careers. Research shows that micro-credentials help students build specific job-ready skills in a short amount of time. They are flexible, affordable, and made to teach students what employers are looking for. Students also like that micro-credentials can strengthen their resumes and help them stand out when applying for jobs. Many programs also give students digital badges that they can share online, which improves their visibility to employers. Overall, micro-credentials support students by offering quick, practical learning that prepares them for future career opportunities. Now for Objective 5. We explored the challenges micro-credentials face in the labor market. Even though they're becoming more popular, there are still concerns about how consistent and trustworthy they are across different providers. Some programs have uneven quality, unclear assessments, and no formal accreditation, which makes employers unsure of their value. Many people also lack awareness of what micro-credentials actually are, which limits their acceptance. Another challenge is that some employers prefer broader qualifications like degrees, especially for jobs that require a wide range of skills. Finally, there is still limited evidence about the long-term career outcomes of microcredentials, so their future recognition still remains uncertain. And finally, for Objective 6, we looked at whether microcredentials can replace degrees or if they mostly work as an add-on. Different generations view microcredentials differently. Older generations tend to see degrees as a main pathway to success, while the younger learners are more open to flexible skill-based options. Traditionally, degrees are seen as the most important qualification, but microcredentials have grown because people need faster and more affordable ways to learn new skills. In some industries, especially tech and business, microcredentials are now considered strong alternatives for certain roles. However, in many cases, they can still work as supplements, helping people update their skills or fill specific gaps without having to return to school for a full program.
Now we'll be jumping into the methodology section of our research, focusing on the primary and secondary research. We will have REB approved anonymous online survey using Google Forms. Our target group would be specifically to Seneca students and professors with micro-credential experience or knowledge. Our population size would be approximately 30 to 40 completed responses from our survey, and we will deliver the survey via My Seneca email. Our instrumentation, we will have a qualitative questionnaire addressing specifically objectives 3, 4, and 6. There will be a mix of yes and no, multiple choice, rating scales, and open-ended questions. Now for our secondary research, we will be using Seneca libraries, reviewing scholar literatures in Canada between 2015 all the way to 2025. We will recognize supports from professional markets as well while doing our research. And we will only be including credible sources like peer-reviewed journals, academic articles, higher education organizations, and government reports. This was previously covered in literature reviews 1 through 6.
Hi, I'm Mahi, and I'll be concluding our presentation. This slide shows our overall work schedule. It outlines how our group progressed through each stage, from forming the team and finalizing our topic to completing literature review and conceptual framework, developing a questionnaire and REP components, and finally preparing a full proposal and presentation. For our conclusion, our study highlights what microcredentials are, why they matter, and the key issues we identified through our review. Overall, we see full potential and future opportunities from microcredentials to support flexible, skill-based learning and improve career readiness. Thank you.